What up? What it do? Welcome to the Cleveland Browns post-game show by way of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines adjustments instantly. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. G. Bush, what up, man? Earl of Pearl, G. Bush here. No Mikey McNuggets as he's on vacation. Remember, like, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Check us out Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Browns is in the 2-minute warning. They have played a better game than I think a lot of people anticipated coming into this game, and you get the ball back with the opportunity to go down here to tie your score. Just what's your overall assessment of this game so far?
Overall assessment of the game, man, it's been actually a very entertaining game. I think the Browns have showed a lot of heart. The defense, it looked like they were going to come out here and let Josh Allen run all over them. But they've been really good in the second half. They've done a good job of getting off the football field. They got the turnover on downs. They've held them to some field goals, and the offense has ran the ball better than I've seen them run the ball in a long time. I had to ask myself, who's this dude? Sanders and Williams. Who is this? With guys and doing things like this, but I'm just telling you, Sanders and Williams moving around, and then they get the football back, but they've shown some heart. Like I said it before, it's your job to make the Buffalo Bills rap, make them play, and the Browns have made them play. I mean, they're a 10-4 team. They've done a lot of things, well in this game. They've done some things with a lot of backups. That we're looking at as well that have cost them. We'll see how it is. I don't know if this is intentional grounding or something coming up here, but I think the Cleveland Browns have played hard. The Cleveland Browns have done some things to really do, set themselves up to be able to kind of, keep this game close and potentially come out with a win. But we'll see how this thing works.
Yeah, man. Going back to the opening drive, I thought, man, Tommy Rees did a great job early on and making sure Quinshon Judkins was involved in the game plan. You saw that first drive. It looked fluid. It looked smooth. It looked like just crisply operated. And most of the Browns drives in the first half, honest to God, looked that way. To your point, 160 yards rushing on the ground today. You talk about trying to slow down Josh Allen. Josh don't have any touchdowns in this game, passing or rushing. So, ran the ball well, but the same Achilles heels for the Cleveland Browns presented itself, man, not being able to stop the run today.
Yeah, not able to stop the run. James Cook went wild a little bit in that first quarter. And you take a look at this game. This is one of those things where the game was much, 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 much closer than what the score is leading up to be. Right now, they look like they have to punt this football away. But, I mean, they had their opportunities. But let's just keep it in. Just keep this thing 1,000%. When you're down a lot of linemen, you still lost Quinshon Judkins, which was horrific injury. You lose that. You weren't able to get very many things open down the middle of the field. Not a lot of separation. We saw some deep throws before, but we haven't seen that action. I think the Bills came into this game trying to keep everything in front of them. So, look, I thought that when you watch this game, they showed a lot of heart. They showed a lot of extra, and this game came down to a couple of drives at the end of the game. And pass protection. Some of them, you want Shedeur to try to get rid of the football. I haven't seen all 22. I don't know if anybody who's open downfield will take a look at it. You want him to get rid of the football in those circumstances, but at the same time too, you are dealing with, some protection up front. You're like, man, give me a couple of extra seconds to move around and throw this football. But this was a game where.
Are you not to cut you off? You referring to that failed fourth down attempt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was tough. I had to go back and watch that as well. You know, it did look like he kind of held the ball a little bit longer, but at the same time, the protection did not hold. You leave Cam Robinson 1-on-1 with Gregory Rousseau. I kind of felt like somebody should have slid the protection or made sure that that pass rusher in particular was not left 1-on-1. It's certain dudes in this league, G, that can wreck you and wreck, and wreck whatever plan you got per play. And he's one of those cats. So, I
And
thought the Browns running game has started to pick itself up, and Tommy Reese had the opportunity to really just run the ball right there. I think it was in a 4th-and-1 situation. So, you know, questionable execution, questionable play call all the way around the board. Of course, the Browns had the ball last time. At the start of the 2-minute warning when we started the show, they end up punting the football. The Bills have the ball right now, 3rd-and-1, with about a minute 27 left in the football game. So a valiant effort from this Cleveland Browns came up short. Just overall, G, in totality, how did you think Shedeur has played up until this point?
man, there's some things I would like to see him do better in terms of recognizing where the blitz is coming from a little bit. But yeah, I can't fault him a lot. I thought he did a really good job of maneuvering. I thought his opening drive was great. I thought he did a good job of moving the ball. I thought his best drive was his best drive moving down the field. I don't think that the interception for Quinshon Judkins was on him. Now, people will say that ball was a little bit behind him, but for me, and where I would like to say Quinshon should have got his head around a little better, a little faster, and get his head around so he can get it. He didn't really even look for the football, and he got up on a little bit, it bounced up in there, turnover. There's a tip pass where guys was getting their hands up a little bit, ball tipped, got an interception on that one. But if you take a look at some of the final numbers, I think he played better than what his numbers is. I think he did show some moxie. I think that you talk about what he was able to do and find some ways to continue to manufacture points. I mean, you go head to head with the Buffalo Bills, they're a 10-4 football team looking to get the first overall seed. I thought, he played a solid game. I don't think you can sit here and say, oh my gosh, I mean, he was the reason they lost. I thought he did some things well early. The Bills made some plays. But I don't come out of the way this football game thinking that Shedeur Sanders is the reason they lost this game. As a matter of fact, I thought he did a really good job with his poise to keep him in the football game. To kind of scramble around with his legs and to make some plays as well. What are your thoughts on how he played?
So you remember last week when we was on the post game show, and I said, the silver lining to what we all agree was a bad performance against the Chicago Bears was you get the opportunity to dissect that film versus what I believe is one of the most talented secondaries that you're going to see. And you fast forward this week and you go up against a Buffalo Bills defense who I'm not quite sure a lot of the audience know is the number 2 pass ranked defense in the entire NFL. And just watching him using the eye test, I thought he came out this game fluid. I thought that like the ball, like he was dropping dimes early in the game. He did a great job of really taking what the defense gave him. A lot of people were really putting this hyper focus on the check down and just taking the 4 to 5 yard passes. Well, you've seen a lot of like the deep shells with the safeties and things like that to take away the deep ball. And he was still able to just like, read the defense, take what was there and continue to keep drives moving down the field. And that is something that Tommy Reese talked about he wanted to see from Shedeur. And I thought Shedeur did a great job of doing that. And so, you talk about the drop by Quinshon turn interception. There was a lot of back and forth about it on social media. Listen, could he have threw a better ball? Absolutely. But Quinshon still had his hands on it. I like UG, kind of thought like he turned his eyes upfield right before he secured the rock. And, Mike said he thought we was texting. He said the ball kind of came up hot. Whether you were in Muni League, high school, or college, I think everybody has been taught, whether from the neighborhood coach to a coach that, when it comes to catching the football, if it touch your hands, you got to catch it. You know what I mean? No matter what the ball is, if you put your hands on it, that means that you believe that you can catch the football. So you need to reel that in. Some things that I did see from Shedeur today, you go back to the pre-draft process, and it was not really much noise about him as far as his athleticism and things like that. And I've just noticed over 4 or 5 starts that he has better pocket poise and pocket presence than what people gave him credit for, that he's stronger at the quarterback position than what people gave him credit for. And he's sneaky athletic. The boy know how to move in the pocket. He know how to extend plays. And Those are things that you want to see in the quarterback as well. I think, again, there's a game to where, he can look at the film and say, okay, I want some of these throws back. But I thought he did a good job of really just taking what the defense gave him. Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver play, you look at the targets, it just wasn't there. Harold Fanning continues to show that he's an absolute beast, absolute dog. It's unfortunate that we lost Quinshon Judkins. What obviously looks like an injury for the rest of the year. So prayers up to him as he go through his recovery. Other takeaways from this game, as the game is officially won final, Browns lose 23-20. Myles Garrett gets a half a sack to get to 22, which is he's a half sack now behind the single season record. And ironically, we play the Pittsburgh Steelers next week. And of course, JJ Watt is tied with Michael Strahan with 22 and a half for the most in a single season. What a storyline, right?
Yeah, like it's, they gave him a half a sack on that play, and you look at you watch it, and I thought just taking a look at what they did, I thought the game plan was good against Myles Garrett. They made them early and often move side to side. They never made Josh Allen a sit and duck. They always made you them play that they kept running. They ran it 4 or 5 times a day. You ran a bootleg, and it was off the speed action, which is really not really show and run like that, but they're just running the play action fake, and James Cook is in the flats immediately. So that's a play that they were running. They did a good job of having the tight ends blocked down on the defensive ends as well. I think this game came down to just the fact that in the first half, the Browns weren't able to stop the run game. They were getting whatever they wanted to on the ground, and the Browns defense did a good job of shoring that up late in the second half. But I think that was the difference. The difference was James Cook. The difference was what they were doing up front. The Browns defense, I will give them credit. They bowed their neck. They didn't give up in the second half. And they did a good job of shutting them down in general. But I will say this. I mean, sometimes, when we talk about it, the game is so quarterback centric. It's so funny because you take a look at what Josh Allen's stats was, right? I mean, what did he end up with?
Looking at it right now, 12 of 19, 130 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He took 2 sacks as well for a total of 35 yards lost compared to Shedeur Sanders, who took 2 sacks, and he lost 21 yards on his. Josh carried the ball 7 times for only a total of 17 yards, 2.4 yards per carry, and 0 touchdowns. So, a lot was made on our show this week about trying to neutralize Josh Allen. And I thought overall the Browns defense did a pretty good job of that. But like you said, though, you go into the second quarter with about 11 minutes to go in the second quarter, and the Buffalo Bills is already over 100 yards rushing. And so it's like the damage was done. I thought they did a great job of making the proper adjustments. Buffalo finished this game with 164 yards total. So, to your point, they did make the proper adjustments there. G, what has went into this becoming a serious issue for the Browns as we have progressed in this season, that, stopping the run now is a real issue? And we've been on, history watch with Myles Garrett here for a couple weeks, but the easiest way to neutralize a pass rusher like that is just hand the damn ball off every single play. And why pass the ball if you ain't got to, right?
Man, listen, the thing, I try to talk to people about offensive line play and defensive line play all the time. And sometimes it falls on deaf ears, but it's like one of them things. Like, people always tell you to go get checked up at the clinic. Make sure you're doing your screenings and testings. And half the times people find out when it's too late by going, and they don't go to the hospital till they're sick. They get symptoms and they're like, well, you got stage this or stage that, or you've been sick for weeks, right? And it's important to understand and try to figure that out. But sometimes the stuff has happened to you in plain sight and you don't see the symptoms. And we talking about is the offensive line play, right? Offensive line and defensive line play come at you when you least expect it, when it's never that most advantageous, and you get hidden points and hidden yards in there. And the thing that we watch with the Browns defensive line is Malik Collins is a really good football player. Mason Graham is playing with bruised and messed up ribs, and he's a young guy. And now you have your backups in Shelby Harris, who I thought played a pretty good game today. He's forced to do things. Carson Schwarzenegger is a rookie. He's forced to play all those snaps. You saw Mohamed Diabate, the play James Cook had. He just missed it. He was wide open. He was a guy that was the unblocked player. and he took a wrong angle, and it was a touchdown. And you start to see what it is when in your pass game and up front, because it's the small things that people look at. You know, a lot of times we spend most of our time on quarterback, we spend most of our time on skill positions, but those are the places where you win and lose football games. And it's unpopular to talk about, but as a defensive end, I spent half my life in the trenches. You can't rush the quarterback if you getting off blocks. Earl, if you got to get off the power play and it's a tight end cracking on you, and guys is coming off on double teams and inside zone play, good luck. My coach always said, I ain't never seen a defensive end get a sack on a run play. You ain't getting one, dog. So I think that's a lot to do with it. And I think it's the deficiencies. It's by the Texans, the Tennessee Titans, 3-12. They come in and they win a football game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But over and all, I think it's a trench wearing down in the trenches, and the fact that they're being, teams are coming in, figuring that out, going at that.
Yeah, before it ain't really too much to talk about here, man, but we'll go through a couple more points here with the Cleveland Browns game. Go around the NFL a little bit. Couple of surprising scores across the league. Another rookie quarterback put on a stellar performance today. We'll talk about that. Couple other things I want to talk about, man. Mason Graham, right? Now, Mason Graham get the half a sack, but overall, there's been a lot of talk about him. He was touted as a run-stopping defensive tackle, drafted in the top 5, and without Malik Collins, he looked like he's too been neutralized. Shout out to our program director, Steve Becker, who kind of let us know the Miami Dolphins first-round pick was actually his running mate last year at Michigan. And, he kind of said as a Michigan Wolverine and a huge fan that Mason Graham is a dude who kind of need a running mate in order for him to have success. And that's not what you look for when you draft a defensive tackle. Top 5 overall. He don't need to be the number 2. He the number 1.
That's the problem. I tell people all the time, and I'm not knocking Mason Graham. I just understand how difficult it is to have an impact as a defensive tackle. Because coming out of Michigan, when you would get drafted in the top 5, you got to come in with a move. You got to come in with something. And for Mason Graham, one of his biggest things was his change of direction and how he was able to disrupt the running game with his quick motion. They're asking him to do different things. He ain't moving sideline to sideline no more. It's laterally. They're telling him get upfield and beat somebody. And right now, he just does not have the functional strength as a defensive tackle in order to handle that type of pounding in the middle. And he's going to have to get on the program. Right now, when you watch him, he's a young pup. And it's like you see a young pup. They got big paws, but they ain't got the weight on them yet. They got good framework, but his jersey is baggy. You can't have a baggy jersey as a defensive tackle, bro. And it's grown men in there in a phone booth putting hands on you. He just needs to get functionally stronger. And by the way, Malik Collins. Let's not talk about running mate. Malik Collins was their best defensive tackle. Let's keep it real. You lose that type of guy, you're in trouble a little bit.
Yeah, that you summed it up nicely, man. Looking at some numbers from the offense, right? Jerry Jeudy, bro, 4 targets, 3 receptions for 12 yards. Harold Fannin was tied for the lead in receptions yet again. Him and backup running back Travion Williams are all people. They both have 4 apiece. Travion was the leading receiver with 38 yards. Shedeur Sanders, what's this, the 3rd game in a row? Leading rusher for the Cleveland Browns.
You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing with your life. Shedeur Sanders, 4 carries for 49 yards, 12.3 average. Take a consideration with that. I thought he did a good job of moving up in the pocket, and they kept him inside the 20. And he was moving around, showed some mobility. A couple of times he just said, "Screw it, I'm gonna just take off and run." Overall, 12 of 29, 157. He had 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. I don't put the first interception on him. The other one was a tip pass. You take a look at it and you watch a lot of different people and you watch how this thing looks and out there. And now the question that we got to talk about, we look at it is, and I know Quinshon Judkins is, it hurts because I've been here before, Earl. I've torn my ACL the last game of the season. Playing against NC State and Phillip Rivers. I'm dating myself. That's how old I am. I played against Phillip Rivers in college, and he's out of retirement. He's like a 90. So
That's
I
like
tore
before
my
the iPhone even came out, man.
yeah, this is wild work. I tore my ACL. I had, and it was the last game of the season. I had surgery December 13th. Just put it in perspective. They didn't see me play again. I wasn't ready to even take no snaps and do nothing until August of the next year. So that's December through August. You take a look at the Cleveland Browns offense. We talked about the fact that they need offensive linemen. That's still number one. You talk about the receiving core. No downfield threats. Guys can't get open. Guys ain't moving. There's no threat. Now you talk about losing potentially your number one offensive threat in Quinshon Judkins and not knowing if you're ready to give him the ball how many times on whatever injury, the severity that is. We're going to have the conversation, but I mean, if you're still taking questions on quarterback questions, that may have just went down to the fifth slot, because now you got to find a guy who could be a bell cow back for you if Quinshon is not available early like you want him to be.
So I was thinking this earlier, and it's crazy that you brought that up. It's like, damn, the Browns find themselves in a situation to where they very likely might draft a running back again, and probably won't be in the second round, but maybe a third or fourth round, because you don't know how long the recovery from this injury is going to be. And I don't think anybody is viewing Dylan Sampson as a primary, option to be your lead back. We all feel the same way equally as a fan base about Jerome Ford. So you find yourself in a situation to where here it is. That's another position group that you got to address yet again this upcoming offseason. And, 2 games left, but it's like that kind of put more of a focal point now for the opposing, defenses on, okay, who's next up? And now the game plan is just stop 44, right?
Right.
Because, your best players on offense are your rookies. Real quick on Harold Fanning. How likely is it he can challenge for the offensive rookie of the year?
I think he behind the 8 ball a little bit, because he got a guy that's still killing the game. What's the name? His numbers looking like the tight
I know
end.
Travion Henderson is up there. I couldn't think of the other guy that was number 2. It's slipping my mind right now.
The tight end that was drafted out of Penn State.
Okay,
what is it?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
I think he's having a real good year. I think he's definitely on the outside looking in, especially for the simple fact that it's just difficult at this point to accumulate that type of stats. But I look at the last 2 games. If you don't got Judkins, who's a big part of your game, and Judkins, I think, caught 5 footballs as well. And he was a part of the screen game that they was putting together. So I think he has an outside chance. I don't think it's big of a chance. I think maybe 10% or something, but that doesn't diminish to me what his value is. My hope for my hope for all the rookies is when you are playing rookies, you just hope that they get the experience, especially if you're counting on them. You get the experience and you get them and you sit them down, and boom, you can get them to the season, no injuries early, and keep it pushing and grow and grow on that. So if Harold Fanning Jr., keep balling, don't get hurt. Let's get to the offseason.
And let's take a quick break, G. When we come back, man, let's go around the NFL and check out some other scores around the league. Then after that, man, we wrap this up with some super chats. That sound good to you?
Let's roll.
Let's do it, man. This next portion of the Cleveland Browns post-game show is brought to you by CarGurus. Hey, check this out, right? Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with CarGurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars that you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. CarGurus makes that whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way that you want to. Use CarGurus deal ratings to compare cars quickly without having to guess whether the prices is fair. CarGurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deals. Shop the way that you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deals ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CarGurus.com. Cargurus.com. Shout out to everybody that's watching us. We got over 4,300 watching us strong. Let's go around the NFLG and check out some scores from the day's game in the
Mm,
early window. The Chargers beat the Cowboys 34-17. Chargers moved to 11-4. The damn Cowboys dropped to 6-8.
mm.
First game for the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. They lose to Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans 26-9. I wonder how Titans feel about getting a dub at the end of the season when it hurt your your draft process.
It's kind of crazy a little bit, right? Like I was just looking at that. Like they probably like, dang, the Jets is like, yeah, go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah, man. Let's go to inside the AFC. Bengals versus Dolphins. 45-21. The Bengals get the dub. Joe Burrow for over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Tyler Shook, man, led the Saints to a win over the Jets, 29-6. He had 32 of 49, 308 yards and a touchdown. That's a dude down in New Orleans that's been absolutely balling his ass off. So, like, he doing this one too. Yeah.
50 throws, dang. They were no Alvin Kamara in there. Chris Olave, he got a little connection. 10 receptions, over 130 yards there. So Tyler Shook, I believe he's the second rookie quarterback to throw for over 300 yards this year.
Yeah, big facts. Shedeur, him, and I think Jackson Dart has the third most total in a single game. The Giants lose to the Minnesota Vikings 16-13. The Giants 2-13. They played a Raiders, so that's pretty much a battle to see who had a number 1 overall pick. And then you got the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers is 8-7, bro.
That's
the Bryce
crazy.
Young led Panthers is 8-7. They beat Baker and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 3. So, that's the early window. The late window is kicking itself off. Now let's read some super chats and get ready to get up out of here again, man. We appreciate everybody who stopped by today. DK1028 says, I guess 12 is supposed to block 2. OG Power says, good game right here. Set apart last, couldn't match the moment. Set apart last also says they should have kept running the ball. Let's go to easily Fury. Browns had their chances, but you just needed more from the offense. No wide receivers today. They're lucky it was this close. Let's see what's next here. We got the Ashanti mom. If not got the botched short field goal by special teams, we'd at least be tied at the end of regulation. Shadeur is showing progress and promise. Jeff says, yeah, they are taking a QB. TRG says, did he outplay Josh? I think so. We got Discord Drip 3097 says 12 has to throw in a nanosecond to win. Impossible. Let's see what else we got here. Paul, the true believer, the Browns offensive line is the mole. Sabotage. We got DB Dog 21, who's always a contributor. Shout out to DB Dog. Lack of talent on the offense is evident. Shedeur Sanders has things to work on for sure, but he can definitely be the quarterback going forward if we fix this offensive line and get some wide receivers. Sweetie T30 says 12 is a rookie with a lot of eyes on him. To me, he doesn't look any worse than any other rookie quarterback playing right now. People just want to hate more. My message will be ignore the haters. For real. Like that's my message to everybody all the time, and it's ignore the haters. If you're a believer and you believe that it's going to turn out to be great, then I would just focus on that. You know what I'm saying? Like me and G talk about that all the time. The man upstairs say it's already done. It's already done. So that be the end of the story all the time. Nicole Marie 834 says get 12 some wide receivers in the offensive line. He'll shine next year. I am pretty much off of that. Zoop Loop 12 says Shadeur has not earned himself any first team reps next year. It says the funky bass music. Judy Robinson trash, no evaluation needed. Paul, the true believer, again says you can't say anything about Sanders. This is all offensive line. If they continue to play like this, there are no more wins this season. Hey, Earl and G, do you think they would have scored on the 5-yard line in the first half before Shedeur hurt his pinky? I think they would have. I think they would have.
I think they was cooking. By the way, man, guys, I heard they was booing Dylan Gabriel. Don't boo Dylan Gabriel coming in the game, man. Come on, man. Just
don't boo Dylan.
Let him rock. Let him rock, man.
What in the hell is going on? Worth 72. This guy can't block freaking water. Why is he still playing? Browns
Best we got.
No options.
Best we got,
tackle
man.
68 need to be replaced or cut immediately. Due illness. Revi, you look at his performance today and last week against the Bears. BW22682. On a positive note, Myles can get the record versus our rivals against Watt, Aaron Rodgers, and potentially stop them from winning the division. Poetic. Yeah, that's the biggest storyline next week. Browns' final home game of the regular season, and Myles Garrett gets the opportunity to set the single season sack record against our division rival. That's something to look forward to. Beautifully blessed. Shout out to her. Says running back Sanders seems to have done well this game. Yeah, he really did come in and you know, kind of answered the call when his name was called. Argyle3 says Shedeur was okay. He's average at this point. Paul says again, O-line taking dives, but it's Sanders, right? Shaking my head. And Sly says, I see Baker still good year, bad year quarterback. Shout out to everybody who's seen it in the super chats. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. Don't forget, man, tune in to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show tomorrow morning live at 11 a.m. for more reactions. For G. Bush, I'm Earl of Pearl. Y'all remember the vibes. Be great, spread love. Remember, being great come with a price.